Hi everyone! Today I will be creating a flower design with watercolor and pen. Start out by lightly sketching out the design with a pencil. All I need at this stage is to figure out the main placement of the flowers, so it doesn't have to be very detailed. Then once you're done, using a kneaded eraser and gently roll it over the sketch to lighten the pencil marks. We do this step before applying the watercolor paint so the pencil sketching doesn't show through as much. Watercolor is very transparent compared to other paint, while the benefit is that you have a lot of freedom with layering the colors. You can also see the other layers underneath the paint, so it's not as forgiving of a medium. Here I'm using a 13mm filbert brush and the color Purple Lake from the set. The watercolor I use is the Winsor & Newton 14 color set. Links to this watercolor set and other art materials are in the description below. I generally try to have the watercolor box in the shot for the necessary portions so you can see which colors are being used and how they're being mixed. But I will also be going over the colors as we go along. Although for the purpose of painting flowers, you can generally use any colors you like. There are no rules. As long as you feel they're pretty, feel free to use whichever color. First, I'm just creating the base colors for the flowers. To create a little more depth to the flowers, I'm using some blue to add a little shadow to the flower petals. Now you can see how the layering is affecting the colors. Even though I'm using only blue, when I paint it onto the flower petals, it takes on a purple hue. For this flower, I wanted to appear white, so I'm using only blue for the shadow portion of the petals. I'm using a smaller brush here to just create the creases on the flower petals to make it look more natural. Using a little bit of lemon yellow and cadmium yellow, I'm painting the center of the flowers and adding a little bit more depth to it just by creating these little dots and connecting it where the shadows are. And I'm just going ahead and doing that for all the other flowers. If you are enjoying this video, please hit that like button below and subscribe so you can see when new videos come out. If you'd like to learn how to paint daisy flowers, I have a separate video on painting daisy flowers from a variety of angles. You can click on the link on the top right to go to that video. Here I'm just creating a border for the painting with a number 5 micron pen. This is the same pen that I will use to create the line work and the rest of the shadows. since we didn't go into much details with the pencil work, that was the layer that was underneath the watercolor paint. Now we are drawing on top of the watercolor paint layer. So here we're creating some shadows with the lines. When you get closer to the center of the flower, the petals will kind of pinch together a little bit. And that's where a little more of the shadow will be. So you can see that I'm creating a little bit more shadow with the line work closer to the center of the flower. And also kind of near the edges where any of the petals might overlap a little bit. Now to create that gradient effect, you kind of drag the pen a little bit and lift as you go down each of the lines. I'm doing this step a little bit faster, but just imagine pressing down a little harder when you put the pen down and lifting as you go. Now make sure when you're doing the shadows with the line work to not make it too even. The shadows will not be an even distribution. And we're going ahead and doing that for the next flower. To add a little shadow with the pen for the center of the flowers. We're kind of just creating these little circular motions and making these little bits of yellow pop. As you move up, we're kind of pretending, the light is coming from the top of the page here. So we just lighten up on the shadow a little bit. We're going to do the same for this flower. Same thing when it gets a little bit closer to the center of the flower, there's going to be a little more shadow on the flower petals. This way it creates the illusion that the center of the flower is a little bit lower and the rest of the flower petals kind of, pop out towards us a little more. this flower is a little different, but basically we're following the same steps. We're going to outline the petals first. For this one, we're doing 4 petals on top and 4 petals on the second layer. This means we're going to add a little more shadow for the layer of petals below. And creating that little pinched look for the center of the petal. Now once we've completed the ink work for the flowers, I'm just putting a layer of light green underneath all the flowers. That's going to be my background color. Taking care not to go over the lines, but if you do go over a little bit, that's okay too. Kind of left a little flower here that I forgot about. We're going to do that afterward. You don't necessarily have to do all the watercolor first or all the lines first. Sometimes I might skip over 1 or 2, and they're a little interchangeable. You can do the line work for the other flowers afterward. Now using a darker green color, I'm going to create a second layer. This is going to create the shadows underneath the flowers. Now there are only 2 green colors that come with this set, which is generally enough for my purposes. The 2 colors are sap green and viridian green, or as they call it, viridian hue. Usually with a mixture of these colors and a little bit of black, I can generally achieve the different greens I want for grass or tree leaves. So now I'm just going back and adding some line work for the flowers that I missed earlier. mixing up a little bit of the ultramarine and cerulean blue and a little bit of black. This creates that shadowy blue color that I want for my flower petals. You can already see more depth to this flower with just a little bit of shadow. Now we're just going around and doing the same for all the different flowers. Adding the blue where the creases are and near the edges of the flowers. I wanted to add a little bit more texture to the background. So this step is very simple. It doesn't have to be ultra realistic. I'm still using my number 5 micron pen and just drawing little leafy designs. I'm coloring in the little portions between the leaves so the background can be a little bit darker than the foreground. You can see the second layer of green that I put down earlier is already creating the shadows on top of the leaves. Once again, because of that transparency of the watercolor, this really helps with the layering effect. We're going to go around and do this for the entire background portion. This is how it looks once I'm done with drawing the leaves in the background. So I'm just going around and adding a little bit extra shadow with the darker green color underneath the petals. That's going to make the flowers pop even more. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumb up and subscribe button below. Thank you for watching. Until next time.